Welcome to the Flymen Fishing Show, where we talk fly fishing, fly tying, and everything in between. I'm your host, Scotty Davis.
How are you?
Hey, Scotty. I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm good. You look like a man that just got back from the Bahamas.
Yeah, feeling like it.
Yeah.
You know how that recuperation period is sometimes.
Yeah, it takes a few days.
Yeah. How's life in Charleston?
It's good. I think we're about to get some rain, and everywhere's running out of gas. I guess that pipeline issue we had, North Carolina is like shutting down, state of emergency, and South Carolina they're roping off gas stations and stuff.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Crazy. We haven't had any run on the gas station in Willis yet up here in Florida.
No. Nice. Well, how was your trip?
It was great. I wanted to get down there. I've been hosting trips down there for 15 years now.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get back to East End because I think they opened up about 11 years ago, I think. And I'd already been going down there, but, they were devastated by Dorian. They had to rebuild everything. And I just wanted to get down there went with a buddy just to get down and support them and see how things were going and be able to report back to everybody who wants to go down there with me on my next trip, how the fishing was and just, kind of be able to vet things, from that perspective. But it all checked out well. The mangroves were decimated, but the BTT people were there, planting mangroves, and there's some sign of life in some of the mangroves. There's some green sprouts, and there were a lot of fish. We caught plenty of fish. It's just a habitat,
Yeah.
But it's going to recover. Mother Nature will come back.
Yeah. And the lodge itself was flattened too, right? The East End Lodge?
Yeah, they had to rebuild everything. They had to rebuild it from scratch.
That's crazy. When did they reopen?
They were still, they reopened in March, I think. And they were still painting and doing stuff like that, the final trim type of work.
Yeah.
Which was fine, but all the crew, everybody's back, back to work, and just to see everybody and know that they're back on their feet was awesome.
Yeah, all the same guides came back.
Yeah, and a couple of new people from Deepwater, because Deepwater was just blown off the map too, and they're not rebuilding at this point, from what I understand.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's good. They found a home for the other guides.
Yeah, a lot of the guides at East End have kind of, migrated over from Deepwater, got their start at Deepwater. So that's not really uncommon for that to take place. But now they don't really have anywhere else they could work.
Yeah.
So it's good. It's a good thing. Rob's got them all back to work and making money.
Nice. When was that hurricane? 2 or 3 years ago?
It was a year and a half ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was October 19. Because I was there last in 19. I usually go down there at least once a year, if not twice a year, like a November, December trip, and then a May, June trip. And I hadn't been there since June of 19. So
that's seemingly pretty quick to rebuild, as hard as it is to get building supplies down there.
It's amazing. Yeah, really amazing. I fished with Simeon. I like to fish with Simeon a lot. He's one of the original guides there. And he actually rode it out in his house. The water was 9 feet up in his house. Talk about harrowing experience.
Yeah.
But they've all. I mean, it took, I don't know, a month or so till they had to get the road open first of all, because the road got totally washed out and kind of cut in half, and they had to build another road, and then they finally got power. I mean, it took months just to get up to that point where they could even start working.
It's crazy.
Really is.
You said the fishing was pretty stable though?
Yeah. I brought those, Martin sent me some of those Micro Alphlexo crabs to try out. And oh man. So first day I caught a 6-pounder on one.
Awesome.
Just a sort of one, just a little single cruiser by himself, and just perfect. Laid it out there. He just ran over and jumped all over right away, man. There was no question. Yeah, these things are going to work.
Yeah.
And he gave me some extra ones to spread around. And there's this guy came in when they had put the rods out. in front of your room. You know, they have little rod racks. They clean them up. They soak them down and rinse them off and bring them over. And we'd fished the first day. And the second day, this guy rolled in. He was probably in his 80s. His name was Frank, and his grandson with him, who was actually, I think, a sophomore at Florida State. And got to talking to them a little bit. And I saw he had a couple of Billy Pate reels, you know, and he was sort of old timer, but he's talking about fishing crabs, you know. And I said, yeah, I'm fishing a crab. I got this Flexo. He goes, I haven't heard of that one. And pulled it out and showed it to him. I said, yeah, I got a 6-pounder on this today. And he said, he was holding on to it, kept looking at it. And he's going, so you're going to give me this, right? And I was like, sure, man, you can have it. Try it out tomorrow. And we get back in, and sure enough, he caught a 6-pounder on it. You know, we're estimating, but, you know, around 6-pound fish. Yeah. He goes, and he had a picture too. I was waiting, so I didn't pull out my phone or anything. But so I see the guy he's fishing with the Cecil. A lot of your viewers might have fished down there. They may know Cecil. And he comes in, and he goes, yeah, man, those crabs. Because Martin gave me some extra crabs to give Cecil too. So I you know, we started talking about the crabs, and he goes, yeah, Frank said he was going to put on his mask tonight and sneak into the professor's room and steal the rest of his crabs. They were calling me the professor down there.
Yeah, that's funny. So yeah. You're also a dean at your college as well, aren't you?
I was. I got out of that gig as soon as I could.
You did?
I served my time for about 3 years. But yeah, I teach, you know, I'm a college professor as well. That's kind of what keeps the bills paid all the time when the guiding gets, you know, a little tough because of the weather and other things, you know.
Yeah. What do you teach?
English.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's what I studied.
Did you really?
Yeah, for a long time.
No wonder you're so eloquent.
I guess, man. I was an English and philosophy major, so it ended me up here, I guess.
Yeah. We could probably talk a little bit of critical theory, a little literary philosophy.
Sure.
Post-structuralism.
Yeah.
I don't think everybody else would be interested in it.
Right. You start clicking off.
Yeah.
So that crab, I've been using that for redfish. I haven't thrown the little one, but I guess it's tungsten beads in it, and it's easy to throw in the wind because it's not bulky like a normal crab. The wind goes right through that material.
Yeah, we had probably, I think it was supposed to be 13 to 15 every day. And had sun, but exactly, they had the weather nailed. It blew about, you know, it was over 10, but not over 15, which is not bad, you know, for saltwater.
Yeah.
But I did have to make some casts into the wind, and that thing just like a bullet, man. It had no problem casting that little thing. And the nice thing about it is it doesn't make a big plop like you know, I think it's on a size 8, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it looks a little bigger than a size 8, but it's an 8. And you know, the next size up, I fished it a little bit, and it spooked fish when it hit the water.
Too big.
That little one didn't. Yeah.
Did y'all see any permit or tarpon?
Nope. The last morning I went out, and we just went out and looked for permit. We found a bunch of rays moving. Well, most of them were kind of late. It was not really the right tide. You know, you want that incoming tide. It was an outgoing tide, but the rays we found just did not have any fish with them. So we never saw a permit, but yeah, that's permit fishing.
Yeah, it is indeed. I hate those things.
Yeah.
So we're talking about your smallmouth guiding career. You've been guiding up on the New River for quite a while now, huh?
Oh gosh, 23 years.
Nice.
Yeah, 23 years.
Heck yeah. And you stay on the New River generally, or you move around?
No, I only fish in an area that basically I've fished since I was a teenager. My family had a cabin. You know, I live in Floyd now. I didn't actually grow up here, but my grandparents are from here. My mom's from Floyd, so I would come up here and fish with my cousins and stay with them on the river and you know, for weeks at a time. You know, we just fish, and that was before it's near Foster Falls State Park, if anybody knows where that is, or you know where that is, but before there was a park, right? So it was real hard to access, and so that area is one of my primary floats that I still do, you know, today. And I fish up from there up toward Ivanhoe, Buck Dam, and then down to Clater Lake. So I stay on that same, it's about 25 miles of water upstream of Claytor Lake. And then you get on the other side as it goes up to West Virginia, where you've got, a lot bigger water, a lot of other outfitters that guide down there. There's a lot of muskie guides down there, and so it's a little more famous. Part of it is down there, but we still kind of get our own, interest in fishing up where I'm at, especially for walleye. That's one thing that's unique where I'm at is we've got walleye, and I do walleye trips on the fly too.
Nice. What does that entail? Obviously,
well, 8-weight, 9-weight rods with full sink lines. We fish for them in the wintertime. They usually run between like December through March. They really pick up in like late January and February. They start moving and school up, and they kind of stage up to spawn.
Are they coming out of the lake?
Well, it's really interesting fishery. The lake was stocked with fish back when they created it with walleye from northern strain walleye. But the walleye that I'm guiding for are the indigenous ones to the river that run up into the river. Some of the lake fish will come up in there and spawn, but the ones that are there, there's also fish that are there year round. And they have a stocking program where they shock walleye out of the river. They test them for DNA. The state does this. And then if they're the indigenous strain, they keep those only because they're the furthest, as I understand it, the furthest south that walleye, are native to. And they get bigger because they're genetically predisposed to a longer growing season.
Right.
Because of the climate. And they only use those to stock. So they're trying to, and they use them to stock the lakes. They use them all across Virginia, actually, the same strain of walleye, but they reintroduce them back into the river. So you got the natural reproduction, but they also complement it with stocked walleye, but they only use that native strain.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. We call it, I got a guy, a 10-pounder this year. Well, actually, Chris, I think it was Chris, who was recently here, he was up and got his first walleye on the fly. I think it was close to 10 pounds.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's in the late winter, you said, December?
Yeah. It's Chris was here. I think it was back in when they were running more in March, but I start up trips in December.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That is pretty unique. I never realized they were that far south.
Yeah, we were throwing Chris is a great fly tire, and he brought up some tweener flies, sort of like between a muskie and a big walleye fly.
Right.
And that's what we were throwing, trying to hope for either a big walleye or muskie. And of course, he nailed a big walleye. It was right close to 30 inches.
Wow. Chris Cease.
9 inches. Yeah.
Chris Cease.
Yeah, Chris Cease.
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't tell me that.
He's too busy talking redfish.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. So the flies are larger than you would throw for a bass, smallmouth.
Well,
the musky size.
Usually I'll have something real big like that on a 9-weight, and then on an 8-weight, I type a couple of flies that I use specifically for walleye. One of them's I use articulated shanks, sort of a Palmer chenille, and then a big fish skull head. And so it's articulated, it just has one articulation in it.
Yeah.
Because you want to be on the bottom, you're fishing sinking lines, and you just barely strip them along, you just give them a little bit of movement. And when walleye hit, it's a real light bite. When you set the hook, it's kind of like a speckled trout head shake, and all of a sudden you realize there's a fish on there. And then, you don't know how big it is to start with, but they can turn out to be pretty big. The state record is 15 pounds, 15 ounces. We'll call it Foster Falls, where I guide for them.
Nice. Can you keep them too, to eat them?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So that's what I was going to explain on the smaller rod. We'll have some of these smaller flies. Also tie one up with yak hair. It's pretty effective too. And we'll fish that for the smaller ones, like, under, say, up to about 5 pounds. And then we'll fish those big flies, hoping for either a muskie or a walleye, because it's still, it's still good muskie fishing too, during the winter, if you got the right tackle. And we just take our chances. We fish like a 40-pound leader, because walleye have teeth too, and they can bite through it. But anyhow, if they're under 19 inches, you can keep the fish. So, we'll often catch them around a pound or two, and you can keep them under 19 during that time of year. And we'll keep those and eat them.
Yeah, those are delicious.
Oh man, I beer batter those things,
Oh.
and you little malt vinegar to dip them in.
Yeah, I mean that rivals most saltwater fish, and it definitely is the top of the freshwater chain in my book.
For sure. Yeah, hard to beat.
Yeah. So
I was going to say, I don't think you'll find anybody argue with you about that.
No, they definitely won't. So the rest of the year you would be guiding smallmouth, right?
Well, I've got a trout water too. I've got a couple miles of private trout stream. That's where I do a lot of instruction. It's trophy fish. We stock it with big rainbows. We've got a few. I put in like fingerling browns every so often, and who knows where they all end up. But every once in a while, we'll end up catching a nice brown trout. That's kind of usually in the fall when they come back to spawn. We'll catch a 20-incher every once in a while. But we're not really after those. We just know we got a few around when we're guiding. But that's another winter species. And then in the spring, once things warm up, now all the way till about October, I'm focusing on smallmouth fishing.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were responsible for the forage fly, right?
Well, I was responsible for the adaptation of the CK bait fish into the forage fly.
Right.
That's a great pattern Chuck Kraft came up with, and I just once we invented this fish skull, it was a way to weight that fly and get the same effectiveness out of that fly. Of course, we modified the tail a little bit. Flymen did, but yeah, it's a variation on a theme, but a weighted variation of a very, very effective smallmouth fly. That fly still catches trout, smallmouth, everything, man.
It's my number one go-to on the lakes. I took some of the guys up to fish the dock lights. They'd never done that, and it is unholy what that thing can do.
Really?
There's a lot of flies that look just like a shad. You throw it in the school of little shads swimming around the light, and it just doesn't work. But that thing dropping, that tail just doesn't. It looks severely injured, and they recognize it, and we just clean up on that thing.
Well, the great thing about the fish skull, and that's why I use it for so many flies that I want weighted, it will, instead of where a barbell presents the fly more like vertically, it drops and comes back up, with the fish skull and that fly, the way we balanced it all out, it hovers more. You can actually get it to hover almost, especially with an intermediate line or not fishing on a sinking line, a floating or intermediate. You can get it at a depth and strip it, and it'll stay at that same depth for the most part.
Right.
That's just the beauty of the fish skull and all the flies that I tie that I use. I use a fish skull in so many flies that are other versions of flies that have already been out there that it just improves them for what I'm doing in the river a lot of the time,
Takes away that extreme jigging action of the dumbbells, like you said.
Exactly. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. So that last time we talked, you were telling me about the Hellbenders, and that was in the private stream, right?
Yeah, there's Hellbenders in the watershed, especially the cleaner, higher water that feeds the New River.
Mm-hmm.
And the stream that we stock is a major tributary of the New. So we've got Hellbenders in there. They're pretty wild.
You've seen them? You can see them?
Yeah, I've actually caught one
Really?
time years ago. Yeah, when I was a lot younger, I caught one.
So they've been there the whole time. It wasn't something the state tried to like reintroduce.
No, but they're trying to protect them now. I don't know how they're categorized. I don't think they're an endangered species, but they're somewhere up the scale, of that. But there's grants out there, to protect them. So we're trying to get one of those right now.
Yeah, just do like stream improvements and.
Yep, habitat improvement, riparian stuff, all kinds. Try to narrow down the channel, make it swifter and cleaner, less siltation. But there's a lot of techniques and all that are used in that process. But there's grants that'll help you to get it done.
Yeah, I mean you'd be improving the trout water too, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's a nice sort of byproduct of the whole grant for us.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Do you know much about those things? How, like, to me, it seems like they would live an extremely long time.
I don't know anything about them, but if you ever see one up close, it'll scare the what out of you, man.
Yeah, I've never seen.
But
I've seen like the zoo, but
yeah, they're harmless though. They really won't hurt you. I caught one years ago when I was fishing up here as a teenager when I fished live bait and stuff like that. With a spinning rod. We were floating down Big Reed, which is the sister stream of our stream. It's called Little Reed Island Creek, and way up in the top part of it, and on a canoe, and was fishing some. I don't remember what it was. It might have been a hellgrammite. I fished a lot of hellgrammites back in the day, and something, I got this thing on there that was acting real funny. It was alive, but it wasn't fighting like a fish. I start reeling it in, and it's just foot-long salamander, and it scared you to death looking at the thing. So I just cut the line and let it go. I didn't try to remove the hook, but I come to find out that they're really pretty harmless.
Yeah, that weird looking Walter Matthau face on them. So
you're like some sort of prehistoric monster,
Right, totally.
Leviathan, something out of the water monster, water creature.
So most of your smallmouth trips on the new, you're doing that strictly out of the boat. Y'all get out and wade little shoals as well?
Now the only wading I do is on the trout stream. So if we're on the new, we're floating. I've got an NRS raft, and it's all set up with fly fishing platforms. That's all I do, fly fishing trips. So and we move. I try to cover water and basically try to target aggressive big fish. I don't spend a lot of time fishing spots that might like a riffle with have 20 10 inchers in it or something. We'll throw something in there where I think the big fish will hold, and we'll move on to the next spot.
Those bigger ones, they stick to themselves, or you find a lot of them in the same area?
It depends on the time of year. I mean, in the fall you can sight fish, big fish on the new. You just you're throwing a big popper, and you wait till you see a fish, and then usually it's there's certain areas they'll hold in, you know where to look for them.
Yeah.
And then you get it out and up above them and let it kind of drift down to them, and then you don't move it at all. And those big fish, you start jerking the thing around, make a bunch of popping noises. In the fall. In the spring, they'll bust on a popper, more like a shad coming up out of the lake. But in the summer, you leave it alone, and they'll come up, and sometimes they'll just sip it down like a big trout would. Other times they'll look at it, and then they'll kind of back off. And as soon as they turn their head where they can't see it, pop it one time. And lots of times they'll turn around and they just can't resist, and they'll crush it.
That's awesome. The only time I ever fished the New River was around West Jefferson, North Carolina. So it was real different, real small. And my next door neighbor lives up kind of near where you are. The Castle Rock, I guess, is one of the features of the New River. Isn't it called Castle Rock? It's this big mountain rock on the river. He lives in Pembroke.
Near Evanston or Pembroke, yeah.
So he's up there, and that river's huge. It's much different than the lower part where I was.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the middle of the two, and so it's really conducive to fly fishing. It's not real big where you can't work one side or the other. You can run back and forth to either side, depending on where the water channel's going. Down there where he's at, I mean, it's so big, you could have rafts going down both sides of the river and not even know it.
Oh yeah, huge. It's crazy.
Yeah. Ask Martin, one time you get a chance, ask Martin about a 6-pounder that ate his fly doing exactly what I just told you about.
Turning backwards.
Do what?
Turning backwards to get it.
Yeah, turning backwards and coming back. And he did everything perfectly. It's just the fish got downstream of him and just got the better of us. We didn't get it to the boat.
Oh, he lost it.
He lost it. But you could see the fish eat it. There were a couple carp. They'll swim with carp sometimes. And we saw a couple carp swimming up, and he said, I think there's a bass in there with them. And I stood up, on my seat in the middle to look and get a good look. And I said, man, if that's a bass, I said, he's as big as those carp. And sure enough, it got a little closer. And I said, that's a bass. I said, get the fly out on top of him, let it drift down to him like I was telling you. And everything played out exactly like I just told you. And he set the hook on it, and he had him on, and it just took off. And he can tell you the rest.
I want to hear the true version. That's awesome. You ever mess with those carp?
Yeah. Actually, every once in a while, I get somebody who wants to throw it to carp.
Yeah.
I use basically like a big rubber legs.
Yeah.
That's what I would use.
Yeah.
And you can get them, lots of times. I mean, most of the time you won't get them to eat on the new. I mean, I don't. They're tough to target on a river. But every once in a while, I got a guy one. It's on my website. If you look on the testimonials, there's a guy holding up about a 15-pounder he caught on a fly with me.
Is it all common carp?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I don't know if there's grass carp in there or not. But
yeah, those things are tricky. I had a buddy take me on Lake James, and being from red fishing background, we turn the corner and there's 30 carp tails up. I was like, man, this is going to be ridiculously easy to do.
Right.
And they started giving me these crazy named flies like carp crack, carp candy, carpalicious, just stupid named flies. Nothing worked. And I got so frustrated. I just wanted to catch a brim or anything. So I tied on an olive woolly bugger, and the first carp that saw it just hammered it. They're like, oh, what fly was that? I'm like, yeah, don't talk to me. Don't talk to me.
There you go.
They're sporty though, especially if you can find little areas where they'll tail up like that in the grass.
Yeah, we see them tailing on ledges and things often floating down the new, and they get big. I mean, there'll be some 15, 20 pounders. Biggest one we ever caught was that one I was telling you about. But yeah, we catch them occasionally. It's just, do you want to try to catch 20, 30 smallmouth, or you want to spend all day hoping for one or two carp?
Right.
It's kind of, it's almost worse than muskie fishing.
Almost. You catch a lot of muskie yourself there in the new?
I've caught some. I've got a real nice one. I think it was 45 inches or so.
Yeah.
But honestly, I don't really guide for them. Every once in a while, somebody will want to throw. It's kind of like the carp. They'll want to see if they can get a muskie. And I've got the flies. I've got the setups, and I'll say, all right, well, we'll go through some spots. I'll bring my muskie net. We'll go through some spots. And we hit the muskie spots. If it's during the right time of year, I won't fish for them in the summer or anything.
Yeah.
But, fall, winter, like when we walleye fish, we throw for muskie too. But most of the time, if somebody calls me and they want to book a muskie trip, I send them Blaine's number.
Yeah.
I say, he's the man, call Blaine.
Yeah. He's pretty close to you too. So.
Oh yeah. 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 He and I go way back.
Yeah. He's such a nice guy.
Oh yeah, man. I've known him since I met him back right when I had opened a little fly shop in Virginia. And I think it was around 2000, and Blaine had his store down in Roanoke. Mm-hmm. And there was this disc like slider bug that he was using for smallmouth that was pretty popular. And he was doing a fly tying class, kind of featuring that bug. And then, it was a couple of weeks. It was probably like a 2-month long, one day a week class, for a couple of months.
Right.
So I signed up for it and went down there. And I mean, he was in his 20s, and that's when I first met him, got to know him, and I've been friends with Blaine ever since.
Nice. Y'all get to fish together at all?
Not enough. We've fished a few times together, but his schedule's just so chaotic, and we don't live close enough really to make it convenient, to hook up. But we get together every once in a while.
Nice. So you sounds like you got your setup going. You got the school during the fall. You don't teach summer school, obviously.
Online.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've broken free. I've got a lot of smallmouth trips coming up. I'm actually going up this weekend up into West Virginia fishing the Monongahela National Forest. You ever been up to Cranberry backcountry fishing?
I have. I fished the Cranberry a long time ago, probably in mid 90s.
Yeah, it's great up there. The Dogway Fork, for brook trout, that's a good example of them liming and replenishing the brook trout population.
Yeah, I think that's what they just finished when I was there, was like a limestone aquifer or something to put either more oxygen or do something to the water to protect those fish. But
yeah, it was that limestone project, and apparently it's been really successful. I haven't been up there in years. I got a buddy of mine. He's got a place up. He skis a lot. He's got a place up around Snowshoe, and he fishes the elk. And so he wanted to go up and fish the elk. And I said, well, I'll go up there with you. Let's spend a day or two over on the Cranberry and over that way too. He said, all right, let's do it. So we set it up a while back, and that's coming up this weekend.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Are y'all camping, or are you just gonna
stay at his place over there? Yeah, we'll probably bike in each day and drive back to his condo over there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mark.
Yeah, look, I like the convenience of the the bed, the bed in the bar at the house. You know, when you get done fishing, man.
Yeah, it's hard to take that whole bar with you.
Yeah, it is.
And you said something about a bicycle. I read an article. Virginia's got some pretty good bike trails that parallel some rivers. You familiar with those?
Yeah, well, the New River Trail.
Is that
River
the
Trail
one?
Yeah, and that actually runs right along the whole area I fished, the whole 25 miles. It's 57 miles long, but
Dang.
part of it, yeah.
57-mile long bike trail?
Yeah, the New River Trail State Park.
Nice.
Rails to trails.
Nice. You gonna fish today?
No, I was cleaning line, just doing some other stuff, getting ready for then. I got a trip tomorrow on the new, and then I got that weekend long getaway up to West Virginia. So I just kind of spending the day getting other stuff knocked out, get ready for that.
Trying to get all the salt off your brain.
Yeah, I had to clean a few lines, all that stuff. You can't leave that stuff on there, man. It'll eat your tackle alive.
It's bad news. We live it.
You know that.
Even here, if you leave your lawnmower outside, you know, we're so close to the salt water that just the salt air just eats metal like that. Brutal. When you coming red fishing?
Oh man, have you guys been out on that little skiff since I was there last?
Not as much as we should.
Y'all work too hard, man.
Yeah, sadly. Martin's been out on a few times.
I'm good.
Him and Matt took it out the other day.
Yeah. Well, he's, you know, hopefully we'll get together. He said give him a call, see what he's doing. I was hoping he was going to go up to the Bahamas with me, but
oh yeah, he was bummed he couldn't make it.
He's so busy. You guys are so. I guess somebody's got to sell all those game changers.
Those things pretty much sell themselves. We got to get the people to make them.
Yeah, so that's the problem, right?
That's the big problem. Yeah. Yeah, we should pick like a good high tide and come down and chase some reds in the high tide with us. That's the little boat he's got. It's perfect for that.
Is it?
Yeah, it's really, really perfect. It's a tiny little tiller. No big bells and whistles you don't need. So it's great.
Yeah, I'll try to do it. Got to get it worked into the schedule. You know, there goes.
Yeah, I do.
You got any trips coming up?
Nothing of merit. I don't think so. I had some friends invite me to Florida to fish some dock lights down there, so I might get to do that if my wife will let me. We have baseball and Cub Scouts and all this stuff going on. It's really killing my fishing right now, but thankfully my kids are pretty into it, so I'll get the hall passes I need as long as I can grab one of them and take them with me. So
well, that's good.
Yeah, we've been fishing the lakes a lot with them. Lake Murray in Columbia, there's no gators and you can let them swim around and play, and he loves it. I took him dock light fishing. He caught his first big bass by himself on a light, and then we were going to the next light. He was sound asleep. Like, well, shit. I tried.
What are you catching under the lights in the lakes?
We're targeting stripers, but we're really getting really big largemouth, like 8 to probably the biggest one last trip was maybe 10.5 pounds.
Really?
But they're kind of in that grayer water off to the side. The stripers will come right through the lights, but those big bass kind of hang in that dark stuff. And that's all we're doing is sinking a forage fly, like you said, kind of counting it down to near the bottom, and they're on it. They're all over.
Yeah, I've fished lights, saltwater plenty of times, but I've never tried fishing lights on lakes.
Oh, it's pretty easy. All you gotta do is get on Google and find the really rich neighborhoods, and those are the people that put all the lights out, and they'll try to with their neighbors. Oh, I got 3 lights. So
pretty cool.
Yeah, it works great.
That's cool.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for talking to me today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, Scotty, I enjoyed it. Take care, man.
Yeah, keep in touch.
Will do.
All right, thanks. Bye.